Welcome everyone to this December 4th, 2008 school board meeting. I'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Sean, would you mind starting us off?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome. At this point, I will continue by reading our mission statement. Newmarket School District is committed to the highest standards of quality education by creating a safe and successful learning community that embraces diversity and responds to the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical needs of every child. We are dedicated to fostering links to the broader community to ensure that students develop lifelong skills, enabling them to be contributing and productive members of society. Again, thank you, welcome. This is the opportunity for public comments to be made. Unfortunately, we don't have any folks in the room tonight, but if anyone were to have comments, this would be the time to do it, whether they be agenda items or non-agenda items. At this point, then to the minutes from our prior meeting on the 20th.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 20th meeting.
Second.
Thank you. I'm not sure who won that race there, but is there any discussion on the minutes?
Yeah, I do have on the back page, top paragraph. In the second line, he's curious how the scores should be replaced with word policy and plays becomes plural. And in the leading of the next line, low scores have should be replaced with this policy has.
Okay, those are, I don't think change the.
Because I didn't say it that way, that's what I meant to say.
Okay, any other thoughts or changes for the minutes? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion with edits signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And off we go into the program, which was to review the budget. We are at this point. Mark, can you help us get started in this regard?
Yeah, with a review of the budget. And the other night, Tuesday night, I, Sue, you were there, Cliff, Linda, Chet, and Forrest, met with the budget committee to review our work from the last meeting. We indicated that we had a goal of trying to reach as a ceiling the dollar amount associated with the default budget. When we presented, Sue and I, the work of the administrative team to the school board, we had reached that goal with a list of reductions that the administrative team had worked on. Subsequent to that meeting, we had word from the state education department that our adequacy aid, projected aid for FY10, fiscal year 10, this coming year's budget, would increase by approximately $297,000. So in addition to the reductions that we brought to you, this projected increase in aid essentially brings about a zero increase percentage-wise from budget to proposed budget. We answered a number of questions, and we had a favorable response, and basically a thank you from the Budget Committee for a process that went very smoothly, was not contentious, good questions were asked, and it was a process of education for all of us. Sue, do you have anything to add? Did I miss anything here?
No, I just wanted to add that after we went through the budget cuts, we did, make some choices and some decisions that, weren't favorable, but we realized that we need to hold back perhaps for a year, given the state of, the economy, and hope that in the future when we move forward, we will probably need those positions that we perhaps cut, or some of the textbooks that we cut out of the budget. So we just want to make it clear that, for this year, we made some decisions that were tough. They were painful.
Yes, they were.
But, in the future, we will probably need some of those. And we'll be coming back with those in the future years. So we hope that as we move through, that, these won't be a huge impact to the education in Newmarket, that we'll be able to maintain what we have and then move forward in the next year. So.
And Forrest, did we miss anything?
I'd like to make a clarifying comment in that the budget, which is the amount of money that the voters approved for expenditure, the proposed budget for this year has increased. It's not a 0% increased budget. However, due to the additional revenue,
Right.
it's a 0% increase in the tax rate that is projected. So it's a semantic difference, but I don't want somebody coming back and saying, wait a minute, you said this was a 0 increase budget. Well,
Right. Yeah.
it's not an actual 0 increase budget. The budget of expenditures is up about 2.4%. However, increased revenue will offset that
Increase.
represents the increase in the expenditure, results in a level tax rate
Yes.
projected for the coming year.
Good point. Mhm.
Forrest, I want to just apologize. I probably should have given the opportunity as the Budget Committee rep to have first crack at these discussions, but
No apologies necessary.
I know that you've put a lot of time into the budget process, and your role in that capacity is very much appreciated. So thank you for that. So that's good news. It's and a bit of a surprise with regard to the direction from the state.
It is a bit of surprise. A number of us throughout the state, superintendents, business administrators, have been attending sessions with representatives from the state education department where the message was being conveyed that there is a degree of uncertainty, and certainly we're experiencing this in many, many aspects of our economy. But with the adequacy aid, there is a legal mandate that promise be fulfilled. Forrest made a good point the other night. It is a reshuffling of chairs on the deck, because it may be that one town had been receiving a lesser amount in the prior fiscal year than another, and that has been inverted in the subsequent year. But it's the same pool dollar-wise throughout the state.
I see.
And there's a mandate also that if there is the inability of the state to stay in the black, it still must be funded. That obligation must be met.
So that speaks to, I guess, more confidence then that we're not going to get any surprises with our current fiscal year from state funding.
Well, Sue, it does increase the confidence interval
Right, it does.
in terms of a positive bent.
They've cut a number of other programs. I think today I just received an email that indicated that building aid was going to be cut back to 95%. Fortunately, we don't have any building aid, but I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate, but they're not cutting our building aid. And catastrophic aid was cut by, I think, to 80%. So they're looking at other programs
Yes.
before they move to the adequacy money, so.
Okay, well, that's good. And I'd just like to comment on as much of that most recent budget committee meeting that I was able to be at. It seemed to be a continuation of the cooperative spirit, and hard questions were asked and answered, and it's it was a healthy process. I thought it went very well.
Very positive experience.
Great. Okay. Any other comments on the budget piece, Chet? Okay.
Just one, I had just indicated to Mark that we would probably prepare the warrant for the next meeting. And the question I have is, we talked about the roof and whether or not we wanted to put that out on a warrant. Do you want us to include that, and then we can leave that for discussion at the next meeting? The sections of the roof that we
Leave it
did
included?
as a warrant. Do you want us to put it as a separate warrant so that we can discuss it at the next meeting? It was thrown out there, but it was never.
Is it put into the budget as of now?
No, it is not. It is not.
The discussion has been with the roofing that was removed. Should we decide to submit that as a separate warrant? My opinion is that as we work next meeting to approve our warrants, that ought to be we ought to have it in place for consideration. Whether we ultimately decide to do that, that's the discussion we get to have, but I think we'd be caught a little short if we didn't at least have that warrant in front of us with the proper language for consideration.
That, as well as the trust funds, and then
Yeah.
that's pretty much it, nothing else.
And,
Okay.
I mean, there's not much challenging to that, but would it make sense to pass that through Barbara Lohman's office before then?
Well, we always do. Once we do the draft, we do send them for the language and all of that. Yes, we will. We will do that, just to make sure that.
Very,
right,
very
correct.
prescriptive.
Mhm.
It is.
We should have it down by now, at least for those fund balance items anyway. Okay. Linda, do you have any budget comments?
I did want to ask the health insurance, what did you end up, in the final budget, what percentage did you end up using?
I actually budgeted for 10%,
Okay.
but based on what your decision is tonight, that may
Okay.
change. So I've left it at that at this time.
Okay.
Have you got a printout, if we include the money for the roof? If you have figures on that, how that will increase our budget?
I will run the numbers on that, I will. The tax impact on that warrant, yes, I usually list them individually. I will run that.
Great. Okay. On to staff development initiatives. We have
Don't everybody get up at once.
We was just negotiating that. I'll
The
go
coin who
first.
gets to go first, right?
Yes. I won.
You need water. I know you've been struggling with it.
Thank you very much. It actually would be a good idea. I appreciate that. Here are two different. Whoops. Maybe could I have one of those second ones back, please?
Which one is it?
The email. Good evening. I'm sorry to keep you. To present information about what we're doing for staff development, I chose to actually share the update on our school improvement plan in general. Excuse me. As you know, I presented to the board in September, I believe it was, the school improvement plan we had to file with the state, so you're aware that we have a whole list of activities, strategies that we're using to get out of the school in need of improvement status. This is year one. And I anticipate that we'll need to do a report to the state in the spring on the progress we've made. So I'm keeping a running tab of things that we can tick off our list beginning in August. And those things that really are most closely related to staff development activities, I've italicized so you can see at a glance the kinds of things we're doing. And the other things are just steps or jobs, tasks that we needed to complete. So I will focus on those things that are italicized, which are the professional development activities. In August this year, as we do every year, we have had a two-day mentor training for all new mentors. As part of our school improvement plan, we are required to have a mentor program. Fortunately, that was already in place, as you know, for many years, and it's a very strong program here. But it becomes part of what we do in order to keep us moving forward. At the bottom of September, we had curriculum meetings district-wide focused on the professional learning community's book. This focus will continue for much of the year. We're really working to implement shared leadership in as many ways as we can at the elementary school, district-wide, not just the elementary school. And so that book has become a model. That model, I should say, is something that we're looking at, and we're trying to find many, many ways to implement the ideas in the book. So that began in September, and that was actually with Pat Ballantyne, not just at the elementary school. In October, we had an in-service day on the 10th, and our school improvement team, SIT, they led small group discussions about professional learning communities at the elementary school, which was very, very well received and a powerful message in a lot of ways. One thing is that it relied on the expertise of those within our school already and their leadership ability, which is the whole point, really, of professional learning communities. And it put the school improvement team, or the CINE team, as we sometimes call it, right in the center of the improvement effort. The focus of the discussion was professional learning communities at work, the Do For book. Also, our paraprofessionals received training from our school psychologists on proactive supervision strategies on the playground, in the lunchroom, and in bus lines, all the large group areas where they are the people who are actually supervising the students. As you know, our teachers have lunch, their own lunch, while the students are at recess in their lunch, and the paraprofessionals are the people who are supervising those students. So we really like to give them the tools they need to make that as successful as possible. And I would like to add, they do a fabulous job at that. It's a tough job. In October, at the end of the month, we ordered materials for the professional library on reading, and that's the second sheet. The email is a list of the things that we ordered, and people are hopefully beginning to look at. They came in November. As you know, it takes a while to get through the purchasing process. But you can see in that list of books and resources, there is a very wide range of information about reading and how students learn to read, how they improve to read, how to overcome difficulties, how to engage the community. The RTI toolkit is about using data to look at student progress and then change instruction to match student need. I would like to bring to your attention halfway down, one of the books we chose to buy was written by people from our own community, Roger Esley, Amy Rossi, who is our lead mentor and enrichment teacher, and Linda Reif from Durham. But it looked like a really powerful book. So that was one of the things we did in October, expanding the professional resources within the building. We also began to plan professional development with Joan Sedita. Joan Sedita is currently, she's a recognized expert on adolescent and pre-adolescent literacy. She's offering trainings in vocabulary building and comprehension skills at Ceresc, which is over in Bedford. It's a statewide educational training center. And she's going to be, her company will be coming to our school. It's also going to involve teachers from the junior, senior high school so we can have a continuous connection. And the focus is going to be on, now that we've put a lot of energy into early literacy, she's going to help focus at the upper grades on comprehension, and that's going to carry over into the junior high. And I don't know the final outcome, but we were also trying to engage another school to join us because we can have up to 35 people in the training, which would help share the cost, for one thing, but it also will kind of enrich the group, I think. So we're working on that. The other thing that we are doing, or the other things at the bottom of October, we have a committee for grade 4-5 curriculum alignment and review of the Scott Forsman reading program as compared to the state GLEs. So those two groups were formed. And the last thing is that we formed a cohort group of 13 teachers who came forward to help work on the classroom walkthrough model. And that's something that Mrs. Howard and I went to a training for in April of 2007. And we talked about it with staff last year and kind of laid the foundation, and there was quite a bit of enthusiasm. It's a formal approach to teachers getting into each other's classrooms and sharing the good practices that are going on. That's what it's about. In November, we had done a survey with the staff to focus on those things that are kind of in the framework provided by the state on what a successful reading school looks like. And we're going to repeat that in the spring just to see if there's any growth or change in the building. We held the classroom walkthrough trainings on November 5th and November 12th after school. We completed the first practice walkthrough on the afternoon of November 12th while school was in session. And then 11 teachers opened their classrooms so we could really look at literacy instruction in a collegial kind of way, and that walkthrough occurred on November 19th, and then the debriefing was held on the 21st. In last spring, we had Sally Grimes, a consultant, come in and talk about reading instruction, especially in using a comprehensive program like Scott Forsman within a reading block. And one of the things that she put into place before we actually had the school improvement team was to form a literacy task force. And they're working on creating materials that will help students find different ways to access reading skills. And the PTA actually is involved in helping to build some of those things, like projects, you can put things together. Because math is also a focus, on November 21st, on the back of your page, Pat Ballantyne and Melinda Lupoli, who had been the co-chair of our math committee when we adopted Everyday Math, and I went to the second in a series of day-long workshops on math education by Mahesh Sharma, who's the former president of mathematics at Cambridge College. I honestly don't know if that's the one in London or the one in Massachusetts. I looked up trying to figure that out, and I couldn't. He has connections in both places. We're moving ahead with Joan Sedita, as I had mentioned earlier. On December 1st, this past Monday, we had a follow-up training for paraprofessionals on proactive supervision, following up the the October 10th thing. This coming Monday, Deb Boatwright and Amy Rossi are going to present in-house training on using performance pathways, which is the state system for managing and analyzing data on student achievement. And we have done a bit of training, but it's one of those things you have to do some training, use it, do some more training, and it's reiterative in that way. It's useful, but it's pretty dense. A week from this Friday, Mrs. Howard and hopefully some teachers, I haven't had anyone jump forward yet, it is December, are going to the next workshop with Mahesh Sharma on math education. The focus of this one is going to be how to teach number conceptualization and arithmetic facts effectively. One of the things that some of our teachers have observed over 5 years, in some cases, of using everyday math, is since it moves away from the rote drill kind of things that, where we automatize our grasp of multiplication tables and those kinds of things, they feel that students are not as automatic as they once were. They have a better understanding of things like algebra and geometric, skills, a broader approach to math, but they want it to be deeper and they want those things to be automatic. So this one is of particular interest as a way to go. I'm just going to summarize the other things rather than go through them one by one. Basically, what you'll see is beginning in January, we're going to do the Key 3 routines, which is the Jones-Sedita workshops on improving reading comprehension. Then she's going to follow up in February, in April, and then again in September. We're going to put one of the days in the start of the next school year. Part of her training is that she requires that we train at least 2 people, excuse me, 2 people in-house as facilitators to carry the torch, so to speak, while they're not here and after the training. So we are sending 3 people. One is a classroom teacher at grade 5, Shayna Thorell. Also 2 reading staff, Joyce Stevens and Lisa Coles, to the facilitator training on January 15th and 16th. So they'll be our resident experts on this skill. And then the other things are a little vague because they're still being planned, but one of our in-service days will be focused on science, and one will be focused on math. March 20th is the day that the whole Southeast region, all the teachers go to UNH for the SES day. So I think that captures everything that's on there. Okay? Any
Terrific,
questions? All right, thank you.
I won't let you, I don't want to keep you long and talking at great length.
That's
It
okay.
sounds like it's not that comfortable. I guess my question, well, a couple questions. On December 8th, you talked about some technology instruction as a job-embedded professional development activity.
Yes.
I think I know what you mean by the
Yeah.
job-embedded. Could you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yes, I could. If we have to keep teachers outside the school day, then we contractually we have to pay them to do that. Plus, it means they're doing it at the end of a really long day of work already. So what we can do is we can do a short in duration workshop. We actually have scheduled 3, I believe, 90-minute workshops. Bring in 3 or 4 substitute teachers. The teachers can leave their classroom for that period of time, and we shuffle the substitutes around. So then they can get that really intensive kind of focused training right during the school day. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's a model we used a couple years ago, and actually some last year, but more 2 years ago, around technology in particular.
Very good.
We did some smart board training that way, some other things like that.
From the parents' perspective, like thinking back on November, I hate to be thinking back on November already, but there was I think 1 week that was a full 5 days of school, and where there's an in-service day, your teacher workshop, it's I guess a concern that I think is well shared in that. Boy, I hope there's, and I don't mean to sound like that it's not, but the I guess it's critically important that what's happening on that day is very relevant, and it's serving to make the instructional contact time that much more effective. So I guess that was one of the reasons why I thought this would be a great topic to review.
Yeah.
And by reviewing this list, you've answered my question to a
Good.
great extent. That
Good.
this is all very real stuff. Particularly things like what happened to knowing your math tables, your
Yes.
multiplication tables when you were teaching a more conceptual math type program.
Right.
So it's good to hear those things are happening. And
Great. And, we talked today about the reading program because we only instituted that last year, the Scott Forsman. But already teachers are beginning to analyze and question, and we see that as the next logical step to take a look and say, what areas could we improve, what areas need to be strengthened, is there too much of one thing? And we can really use the data, because it's pretty sophisticated now, to say, is it vocabulary, is it reading comprehension? So I appreciate that feedback, and I'm sure teachers will as well. It is important stuff.
yeah, is there any sort of feedback mechanism, formally or informally, I guess, to hey, that was a good topic, or we need more along these, like a
A standard
evaluation
form.
at the
Yes,
end,
there
or-
is, yeah. We have a standard form after each workshop. Teachers get to fill that out and they answer things like, is it relevant to what I do? That's always a good question. Was it well presented? What were strengths? What were weaknesses? Would you use it? Would you recommend it to another person? And let's see. It's just that kind of thing. So they get to rate those things on a Likert scale, or they can write responses. So those go to the presenters.
Good. And I assume that they're reviewed for, well, we better do that again or more on a similar topic.
They are. They're collected. They ultimately go to Pat Ballantyne, who's the head, the facilitator for the Professional Development Committee. And then the Development Committee meets periodically to plan for the professional development. So there's also a pretty representational group of people on that committee who talk to their peers, and that's probably as important as those forms, when you get down to it. Because not everybody takes the time to fill out the forms, but everybody takes the time to say what they thought of the workshop to their peers. So, we get that too.
We hear so many negative discussions related to No Child Left Behind legislation, but the conversations and the reliance on data that has come out of the legislation and the impact in terms of student performance has been a benefit to our instructional model. So much of this, and we hear so many negative things, the discussions that are taking place among teachers from grade level to grade level, building to building, is a good thing.
It challenges us. It's
It
really,
does.
it's a good thing in some ways. Yeah.
On the third workshop with Mahesh Sharma on mathematics education,
Yes.
is that something that can be brought to us to be shown future, let's say in a January or February school board meeting? We can see what's going on here with this type of program. I like
Yeah,
to see- I
we'll-
like to
we'll-
see, I like the people to see it.
Yeah, we'll arrange something.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the curriculum coordinator.
I only know a couple people, as I said, who are signed up already,
Mm-hmm.
because December is such a busy month, and we have, and that's Debbie Howard.
Where's that
and-
going to be held?
I'm sorry?
Where's that workshop going to be held?
At Ceresc. No, that's not true. Yes, it is true. I had to think. It's always either that or the Grapponi Center. It's at Ceresc over in Bedford, New
Bedford.
Hampshire. He does, however, when I went last time, I brought back the order form for, you can order all of the series of materials. I didn't want to commit to that till we got a little more into it, but I was very impressed with the practicality of what he was sharing with us last time,
Yeah,
and depth of knowledge.
I've heard quite a bit about
Right.
it. That's why I like to see,
Right.
that people present something
Well-
when they go to this workshop.
Maybe we can get you a seat. We'll try.
I might go,
Yeah,
see how my schedule does.
yeah, good.
Okay,
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks, Scott.
Yes.
Hello? Everyone should have a two-sided sheet that I put out in front of your desk when you first arrived.
Yep.
On one side is just, that's Pat Ballantyne's reflection of what the Professional Development Committee has kind of laid out as a professional development plan. So I use that as a baseline. And then on the other side is what we've done at the high school. Before I get into that, I just want to do a follow-up to Chet's question. Chet, he's got 5 more sessions throughout the year. There's one in March. There's a double session back-to-back in April, one in May and one in June. The high school, we have sent a representative to the 2 and the one that's going to go on Friday. So we've tried to reserve a slot at each session. So you might want to pony up and come with us to when we send someone to that session, because we're trying to do a collaborative,
All right, let
like
me-
Scott talked about.
Give me a phone call in terms
Sure,
of
go
how
ahead.
they go.
All right, so we do have representation at the elementary school and at the middle high school, so that we're covering our K through 12 math concerns. But I think it would be great to have someone from the
sure.
school board go along. So there's other dates if you'd like to go and see, and they're all different sessions of what he's instructing in math.
Great.
To follow that up, we also are partnering up with the elementary school for the Jones Sedita training. What we're looking at, we're sending a team to go to get the vocabulary instruction. One of the biggest concerns that we have at the high school that we're talking about is students not being prepared, and we're getting a lot of referrals towards special education because of students not knowing the vocabulary reading. So we're getting back to direct vocabulary instruction, explicit vocabulary instruction. So Jones Sedita's group does trainings in that. So we're sending a team in January. It's a 2-day workshop to go get vocabulary instruction, and then we're ponying up with the elementary school to get the comprehension strategies as well. So we'll have 2 trainers in the middle high school as well that will be doing that training, and we're bringing it up to the high school level now. So Pam Caswell is looking at sending a high school teacher. So again, we're K-12 in a lot of these initiatives.
Very good.
I just put a brief outline of the professional development days that we have in our building. With the 11 new staff that we had starting the building, that's probably the most critical one, and that was on August 22nd. And there was a couple things that we offered there. We did the center training, and that was right in-house through guidance. I talked to them about attendance, how to take grades, how to set up your grade book, how to set up lesson plans right through the center program. Then we did a laptop training with the technology department because they were issued laptops, understanding how our computer and technology worked in the school. My assistant and I did policies and procedures going through the entire handbook and the teacher supplement so that they understood that. And what we've done in the last 2 years, Newmarket Police Department's been a great partnership, coming in talking about school safety and school shootings. And they came in and did an hour presentation with all the new staff and actually brought them on a tour and showed them their classrooms and showed them how to be safe for if we had to do lockdowns and fire drills, things to look at and hazards, as we had 3 brand new teachers into the building. So it was a great experience for them. When the whole staff gets back again, we get into policies and procedures. But another new topic this year that we did district-wide was the sexual harassment, which we got some really good feedback about people not understanding what sexual harassment can look like employee to employee and then in the students in the building. So that was something that we got good feedback on, presenting that to the entire staff. We followed up with advisory training since we are 6 through 12, and there are some new teachers doing advisory for the first year. We did a beginning advisory training. Natalie Hamren, our past guidance counselor, who's been trained in this, came back and did a full half-day workshop with many of our new teachers and new teachers that are new to advisory. And then I facilitated an advanced advisory training with those people that have been in it for now 3 or 4 years or have had advanced training themselves. On 10-10, that was a whole staff half day, and at that point we did curriculum development and evaluation. They broke into their departments and they broke down the kneecap scores from the previous year. So looking at the data, what is it telling us? So they broke into language arts, math, and science and dove into the kneecap scores and came up and formulated questions. Hey, we're not doing well in science when inquiry-based questions. And math, our word problems we're not doing well in. And then in our overall writing process in language arts is what's what we're seeing as drastic needs. So they were able to look at that data and identify some needs that we could look at to address in our building. And then social studies work together in a group to look at the new curriculum, because we're shifting civics and economics to the 11th grade year. So how that plays out. So that was a lot of discussion on how we build up our program in social studies. And then our double LA block, which is our middle school cine group, they had the whole day to look and do a vertical planning of what's happening for now that 100-minute block that we've established this year. So again, great feedback, because I get my feedback from my department heads at department head meetings on the workshops that we do. They do the evaluations on their staff. What did you like? And then they bring it back to me, and then I report that back to Pat. So do a little bit differently than Scott does, but I do like the forms that he uses in his building. The other day on 12/3/08, that was just a teaching staff full day. We had Joan Ponkrant came back, and she did a training on open response writing across the curriculum. How do you get students to be more engaged in the writing process specific to your curriculum? Again, we got good feedback, and she's been at the elementary school in years past. And then Pat Ballantyne facilitated curriculum mapping, making sure that those teachers are now using curriculum maps, rolling them over from year to year, and that we're getting all of our curriculum online so that teachers can look across their departments of what's going on. And then Diane Beach provided a CPR first aid training for 16 staff members in the building. As we look towards the future, again, we'll be on March 20th, we'll be at the SES Day at UNH, but a lot of our future dates are going to be dedicated to NEASC. We'll have Janet Allison come in on January 28th and meet with the staff, and that's when she's going to start going. So those dates are kind of dedicated. I put down that we'll be doing NEASC, but again, that's going to be our curriculum, that's going to be our instruction, that's going to be our assessment that drives out of that NEASC and what she starts developing those teams. So it's laid out that way. A couple things I didn't mention in there that were brought to mind were David Clark, our data integrator. He's been doing lunchtime facilitations in Moodle and Smartboard training, something that he's pretty good at. So teachers will give up their lunch period to go meet with him, and he does trainings on a daily basis, one teacher, two teacher, which is a nice change in the building. And then the ongoing mentor training with the number of new staff that I've had in the building the past couple of years. That's ongoing, and Amy Rossi's doing a great job overseeing both buildings now, and the consistency is really happening. So those are what we're seeing in the building. Again, like I said, curtailing on the math and the reading with the elementary school is nice this year.
Very good. Very good.
With the problem that you said that you people have picked up on with the department are not doing well in word problems, did they determine what kind of situation, why that is happening?
It's we looked at some of the curriculum that's before. It's tough because they've just started the everyday math program. There's been a shift in that, so that's why we sent our 6th and 7th grade teachers to go understand that curriculum over the summer, so that they understand what the kids are coming up. Again, it's a lot of language when a lot of our kids, and it's across the nation, Chet, that they're struggling with language, and that goes into the math. So that's why we're looking at our vocabulary. A lot of kids, they know the process of math, but the vocabulary is what throws them off on those standardized tests, and that's another reason their scoring, is going down, and that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, my second question was, are you looking at the English department as well as the science department and the math department in interdisciplinary and those type of departments?
Yep.
Sort of that language is common.
Exactly. We have, like guys, a couple of years ago, we started literacy in the content area. So that happens at the middle school 2 days a week, where they do specific literacy instruction in their content area. Again, they're not being reading teachers, but they're teaching kids how to read better in that content area. And that's really now moving up into the high school, and they're seeing that. And that's why we're starting to do a lot of these K-12 initiatives that it used to get up to 8th grade, and then high school was its own animal. Where we're in the same building, we're really pushing, so that's trying to be seamless.
Now, the everyday math is what grade now?
That goes up to 5th grade.
5th grade?
Yeah.
So you're going to be getting into the 6th and 7th?
We're not going to establish everyday math in our group, but those teachers now know the language that's being used previously, so those kids that have had it for 4 years are coming in, and they can interpret and work with kids that have had everyday math when they get back to more of the traditional type of math.
The everyday math program, the curriculum is written through 5th grade.
Correct.
Right? It's not available beyond that.
I think there's one that curtails it. Is it Math World, or it's not everyday math? I don't think it's
it is Math World.
I think everyday math does go up through, but we use number worlds for some students.
Have you seen any effect with the grades 6th, 7th, and 8th with the everyday math?
Again, I could look into that more with Dan, and again, it's tough because you have a pretty brand new staff, brand new 8th grade math teacher, 7th and 6th grade, this is their 2nd and 3rd year respectively. Our high school 2 math teachers are 2nd year respectively.
Yeah.
Dan's second year as a department head, so we got a pretty new group. So,
Very
that's
important 3 grades right there.
exactly. So that's part of it is trying to keep the consistency of a math program.
Yeah.
But I can ask that when I go back and talk with Dan on Monday.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Okay, thanks.
Thanks very much.
Very good, thanks, Chris.
It's apparent that the data-driven piece is happening in both buildings
It is.
to a great extent, and that's great to hear. Okay. For committee reports this evening, Jim Bergeron is unable to be here. Apparently, there is a special town council meeting that he was called away on, so
That's correct.
he sends his regrets. So the
You're welcome to be here, yes.
I
Don't know.
I have no information on that. Mark, would you like
Yes.
to?
Thank you. I have a couple items. We did have an occasion for an early release at the elementary school this week and an opportunity to try out in a live situation our computerized notification system. I'm happy to report that the staff, paraprofessionals, teachers, administrators in the building, and volunteers from the high school participated in that early release to ensure the safety of children, all of our children, and that is the primary objective in any release and everyday activity, to make sure children are present and safe. In the event that there's not a parent available at a bus drop-off, they're brought back to the building. The notification system did work well. We are refining the system, and please be patient with us. Citizens have approached us, and I assured citizens that have queried about addition to the system in the way of secondary contact numbers, emailing, will take place, but it is a very useful tool. And the early release was due to a sewer plug in the system, which has been rectified, and it was addressed that day, and by 4:30, the building was back in habitable order. So kudos to that staff. It was a very good job. We had, as an administrative team, a professional development activity. We have an external facilitator working with the administrative team in the area of communications. And oftentimes, we take for granted that we are making our points and people understand what we're trying to convey. And it was a number of exercises and readings that we have been going through in preparation prior to her arrival. And as I had mentioned earlier this year, there are approximately 4 sessions during the course of the year that the administrative team will be working with this facilitator. So that was a worthwhile experience. We are attempting, and Chet will be attending this as well, to have a meeting of individuals that will be instrumental in securing the easement, the property behind the elementary school. Now, the purpose of securing that easement is not to put structures in that area, but eventually to have a playing field for students and children in Newmarket. That meeting tentatively is scheduled for Tuesday, and we are having Attorney Peter Bronstein there that will be working with the district, Diane Hardy, the town planner, And the surveying firm, Doucette Surveying, Chet, myself. So that's what I have to report.
Terrific. Any questions? Okay. Super. Mr. Riley, do you have something to share with us this
I
evening?
do. Basically, the main thing that's taking place in the school during this time of year, as with past years, as long as I can remember, is money. Every class and every group needs money. So the main focus right now is on with each class, seniors, juniors, freshmen, sophomores, and the student council, among other groups, is getting money. And what's actually cool is a teacher actually pointed out last week. There's very classes are coming up with very unique ways to raise funds, new ideas and whatnot. So I thought I might share a couple of those. Senior class right now, very exciting times. Our last year to get some funds and whatnot. Next 3 weekends, starting this weekend and the 2 following that, we do our annual Christmas tree sale at Irving on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And those have been pretty successful in years past, and we're hoping for a good turnout again this year. And also the usual senior class always runs the concession stands at the basketball games, and class dues are also coming in, so the typical things. But also the Christmas tree sale is a unique thing to our class as well. We have a couple other tricks up our sleeves, but I won't mention those yet. Also, senior banquet sites were visited yesterday during the day off. The class advisors, the elected student representatives visited several sites. They did not disclose to me which ones in particular, but I know that they're in full force trying to find a unique site for the senior banquet. Junior class, actually, I talked to Sarah Cross, who's the class advisor, and she wanted me to mention that they just finalized where they'll be holding their prom in May. It's going to be at the Three Chimneys Inn in Durham, and it's actually unique in that this is going to be the Three Chimneys Inn's first ever prom. So they're trying out someplace new, but they're very excited about it, and they wanted me to mention that. And they're still working on getting some funds for prom and graduation as well. And one of their annual things, like the seniors do the Christmas tree sales, the juniors have started an annual holiday breakfast, and that's next Saturday. And that's kind of an annual thing. And I know that they started that last year, I believe, and it had a great turnout, so they're excited to have that as well. A couple other points. Student council has been really trying hard to increase the school spirit in our school. As you may remember, I don't believe it was the student council, but one of the big initiatives at the beginning of the year was each student got a free Newmarket Mules t-shirt, and this was kind of in line with that, and I see people wearing those all the time, myself included, so that's been good. And to further that, the student council is in negotiations to buy a school mascot costume, a Mules costume, to be displayed at basketball games, to kind of raise the team spirit. And also, I was just on the phone with the leader of the student council, and we have a very unique opportunity the day before Christmas break, the 23rd. It's a Tuesday. There will be an in-school assembly. We just reserved a group called Recycled Percussion, which basically they're kind of a rock band, but they use trash cans and other unconventional instruments in their act. And I took a look on their website before I left, and they just came off a tour where they played at halftime for a Utah Jazz game, and they're playing a halftime show at a Celtics game coming up. So this is a pretty legitimate group, and they'll be at our school the day before Christmas break. So I thought I'd mention that. And again, so there's that. And the big fundraising thing for that the student council wanted me to mention is there's a charity basketball game tomorrow night. It's the Epping Town employees versus Newmarket Town employees, and that's at the school gym. And then finally, one thing I've kept forgetting to mention is last year, Dan Kuchar, the math teacher at the high school, started a math team, and that started up last year, and it's going very strong this year. I know that we're placing very well in the competitions, and there's a bulletin board that he posts outside his room in the hallway with the results after every meet, and several of the members of the math team are receiving perfect scores at those competitions. So I know that that is a very strong program, and it's greatly improving, and it's becoming more popular. I think they have a couple more members this year than they did last year, so that's expanding, and it's something that he's really excited about, so I thought I'd mention that as well. And that's about it.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, any questions for Sean?
Yeah, I got something after. I'll bring up something with SST.
Actually, Sean, what about the food drive, the food baskets?
Oh, you're absolutely right. I actually had a flyer with me, but I think I left it at home. There is a food drive. It started Monday. It's always gone over very well, and it's basically kind of a competition. The advisory that brings in the most food wins the pizza party, and I know in past years it's gotten pretty heated between, near the end, two advisors will get down to the wire, and you'll see large bundles of cans being brought in. Kind of everybody wants the pizza, but it's a very popular annual thing going on at the school, and it's taking place right now. So it's definitely important to get the word out on that as well. Thanks for reminding me.
And Sean, do you know, community members, can they stop by the school and drop food off? Or how can the community be more involved in that process?
That's a
know?
good question. I'm not exactly sure. I would assume so. But I'll have to get back to you.
They
I'm
do
not exactly
solicit
sure.
donations because they do purchase turkeys, so in the past.
Yeah. So not only canned goods, but
Mhm.
monetary donations
Yes,
are greatly
yes,
appreciated.
appreciated.
And that all goes to Newmarket families, correct? That
Yes, they do about 100 baskets a year, at least. I
Yeah,
could be
and
wrong, I
this
could be
year,
way
who
off, yeah.
knows?
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's a great community event, so. Good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So if folks have a question about where to donate, they could call the district office. Would that be appropriate? Or?
It would be. And certainly donations are welcome in
Yes.
any form.
Mhm. Great. Thank you, Sean, for the lots of
Oh, you know what?
information there.
I'm sorry. I forgot one thing, and I skipped over it. I jotted it down. Senior class, on behalf of the senior class, just wanted to mention that Mr. Pavlidis, the guidance director, has been doing an outstanding job with keeping us on track. This year, more than ever, it's extremely stressful applying to college and making sure you can afford it. And this past Tuesday morning, Mr. Pavlidis held a financial aid workshop for students, and then held a separate one last night for parents, including a financial aid representative from St. Anselm's. And I know that was highly attended, according to my mom, and so was the student workshop on Tuesday morning. And it's very greatly appreciated on behalf of the seniors how organized that he is, and very helpful. And
Good.
the guidance department is a big strength in our school, and we really appreciate it. So, and actually this month you'll start seeing several seniors applied for early decision or early action at many colleges, and you'll start seeing acceptance letters come in this month actually. So that's something that the senior class is very much looking forward to right now.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Cliff, I'd like to say
Oh,
something.
yes, you had something about SST.
Yeah. Mr. LaRouche, myself, attended the governing board meeting in Exeter, and there's a couple things I'd like to tell the people about what's going on here. Since they had the renovation, the expansion, there's an awful lot of activity, and it's all good and great. For example, the culinary arts, which was really wasn't spaced very well, and now they have the room, and the students are actually standing in line to take that particular class. Welding, which was on probation last year and the year before, is now actually they have to stand in line and actually be on a list now to get into that class. So there's a lot of things happening there, which are very, very, very rewarding to our students here in Newmarket. And on November 21st, they had a college fair, and there was 15 colleges there trying to recruit these students. So I don't know exactly how this went about, but I was kind of impressed. The fact there was 15 colleges. The grand opening of that new renovation expansion went very well, and Mr. Bruno will be in Newmarket to talk to grades 9 and 10 for going through applications and so forth for acceptance at that facility. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I will be attending a meeting which is Pathways Through Partnerships. It's going to be a regional meeting, will take place in the SST dining room. A facility will lead us in a discussion about SB 18, which is that bill which is going to say we have to keep the students in through the age of 18. So we should know more about that in terms of how we'll be affected with that also. So I can come back with you people with some news on that.
Great. And what was the date on that? I'm sorry.
That's tomorrow at 8
Tomorrow.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Well, they have a wonderful principal there. Margaret is certainly a highly motivated
She is.
individual. Now, the principal has also offered to come to us
Yes.
and give an update to the board and the citizens of Newmarket, and be a matter of, your consent and then trying to schedule her in the near future.
She has been here
Yes.
in the not-too-distant past, but
Yep.
that certainly is something I think that's important on an ongoing basis, given that we do send our students there, and it's a critical part of our offerings.
And they're so excited about the changes they've made, not only in facilities, but a first-rate staff.
Yes.
And that program has been enhanced in such a positive way that she is anxious to share that.
Also on February 11th, I guess Newmarket is going to be visiting there for their annual visit to see how the programs work. And there's also an application deadline of March 6th that the students will be told about as they decide whether they want to join that facility or not.
Chet, do you know, I wonder if they have any, like a video giving a tour of that facility, the building, or the different classes, something that we could put on Channel 13 for.
I'll ask her.
That would be
That's a good point.
and if
Point.
not,
Yeah.
Sam Bruno would be great
Yeah.
putting one together.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
his
he's-
forte.
Yeah,
and-
he's going to be at the school,
Okay.
they say, on the 8th, which is Tuesday, to
Yeah.
talk to the 9th and 10th graders.
Yeah, maybe we
And
could find out.
they even have a person who is starting to deal with the middle school students, to get them acclimated in terms of the programs and so forth. Their Tech Careers, which is a semester course, takes these students in and actually breaks the ice for them in terms of what they may want to do as a career in terms of that facility. And that's been very successful for the students.
And they have extended learning opportunities where those that participate are guaranteed enrollment
Yep.
in some of the very competitive programs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Chad.
Yep.
That's-
Yes, indeed. Okay, correspondence. Do you have anything of note, Mark?
Well, in the package, you do have material that Sue will be going over. I also have enrollment data for you as well, recent enrollment data for your review. And then this afternoon, a notice did come in from our music department that I gave to the chair.
Yes, which is great to see. It's from Mr. Zaricki of our music department, which states, would you please ask Mark if he would like to have a flute ensemble from the high school play Christmas carols for 10 to 15 minutes prior to the school board meeting on the 18th. And I think that'd be wonderful. It's
I do as well.
I think it's a
Great.
good venue and a good opportunity for the kids to play in public and for us to hear, get in the spirit of the holidays as well.
I'll
So,
follow through on that. Thank you.
excellent. Excellent. And also, there was an invitation that we received from, I guess it's from the Kachiko Arts and Technology Academy. They're holding a meeting with Spotlight on Education is the topic, and we are all invited. It is on September the 11th from 9 to 10 in the morning, and if anyone is interested in attending that, we would need to RSVP by the 9th, which is what, Wednesday next?
Mhm.
So.
You said September.
December.
December,
okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, busy time of year, but this is, I think, an opportunity to talk to some folks within the charter school community.
Yes.
And certainly having a dialogue there, I think, is important.
Mhm.
So, and if anyone's interested, I'm happy to share that phone number for RSVP.
Good. Thank you.
Any surprises in the enrollment review?
No?
Okay. It's pretty steady.
Mhm.
Okay.
Normally, we get the withdrawal codes on the back, so that we can interpret the withdrawal codes that are on the bottom.
We will do that.
I'm curious what I don't remember from my looking at them recently what the W-20 is.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
remember.
not sure I want to address that currently.
Mhm.
Yeah, thanks for,
Let me clarify that. I don't want to address that here in public session because when you're speaking about one student,
That's correct.
situations can become known and there is an issue of confidentiality, so.
Right.
I don't want the definition of the 120.
Right. We,
Here now.
we do abide by FERPA. You're correct.
okay. Business department update. Our budget schedule is, it's actually remained pretty solid.
For the most
maybe
part.
more than in years past.
I just actually added the January 6th date that we talked about Tuesday evening. And then I just wanted to confirm your dates for the public hearing and the deliberative session, if those were a go. I think we agreed on those dates. I just wanted to be sure. So the public hearing on the budget would be January 14th, and then the deliberative session would be February 3rd.
And we've got room, if it's inclement weather, for example, on the 14th,
Mhm.
to reschedule that meeting.
Correct.
Okay, anyone have issue with these dates?
Good to me.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks for putting that together. And again, you're going to have a draft of the warrant articles
For the next meeting.
ready
For
for our
December
next
18th.
meeting. Great. Primex Health Extra Program Discount Agreement and Resolution. That's a mouthful.
Yes. Let me go back to November, I believe. And Linda, did you mention that the health committee met, the benefits committee met, and it was decided that we would perhaps go out to bid once again for our health insurance. We would employ the services of a consultant to do that and go through the process of soliciting the various providers. I think there's probably 4 out there to see what they might be able to offer us as far as health coverage. Currently, we have Primex, which is Harvard Pilgrim. Going through that process, of course, requires the vote of the teachers' union and the whole vote. Since then, we received what we called as our not to exceed rates, which we do get every year in November. And along with that, this proposal to lock in January. I wonder if they knew we were going out to bid or not, and secure a 2% reduction in our not to exceed. The not to exceed came in at 9.8, so that would make our rate 7.8%. And as Linda indicated, I budgeted for 10%. Trend is averaging about 12%, so that's a very good number. Good number. But then again, I'm not sure what's out there and what other companies may offer us, but at this time, is it worth doing that? Again, we'd have to lock in for January on this, and we'd miss that opportunity.
Right.
So I'm looking for,
Oh, and I will say that the surveys, the staff surveys were all very positive. The plan that they have right now, they really like. It's going well. And when the committee met, it wasn't felt like, you know, it wasn't at all felt like we need to look at the other providers. It was well, you know, given the financial situation, the economy, you know, maybe we should look and see if we can get better rates. Well, to me, we got a better rate to me, this tells me we will get a better rate if we act on it, so.
at least for this year. And then we could
Yeah.
always go back next year.
Exactly.
And do the research and see if there's something out there that they may have a better offer for us, but
Yeah. I think this is you know, the 9.8 was a good rate.
It is,
But decreasing at 2%, I mean, 7.8% increase is really good.
Haven't
And-
seen this in a decade.
Yeah, I really think we should jump on this.
It's crazy, though, that, you know, we're
Yeah, I
looking at
know.
a 7% increase as being wonderful.
I know, I
It's
know.
like
It's true.
thinking $2 for a gallon of gas is wonderful.
yeah, true.
But those years of 14% really did make you
Yeah.
gasp.
Yeah.
We had some 24s, so
Oh,
I remind you that we did
gosh.
have some hard years
Mhm.
Yeah.
in the past, so.
Continues to be a very significant expense. Okay, Williams Communication,
So I guess I
Oh,
do
I'm
need a
sorry.
motion on that.
sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
It does require some obligation on our part. I don't know if you had time to read through that. And basically what that is I've actually talked with Pat Valentine. We'd have to schedule staff meetings around the program, the wellness program that they'd like us to. We already have a wellness program. Diane Beach does a wonderful job of promoting wellness with our staff. But this is just another piece where they want to come in and do some education with our staff. And it would need to be during time when, you know, they're a captive audience. We couldn't, like, do it after school. So I've talked with Pat, and she said we could free up, I believe it's maybe a half hour on a couple of our staff development days. So,
Oh, good.
so that's about the only hook.
So, yeah,
Still,
so
that's
do-
still okay. I just wanted to make sure you understood that we would be taking some of the professional development time to promote wellness
Mhm.
in order to support
Yeah, I
this.
think that's,
Which we
Could it-
talked about even prior to this offer.
Mhm.
Certainly, the wellness is an important issue, and we do want to weave that into staff development.
On that wellness, are we keeping data on that at all, or how effective is all this going as far as the staff's health is concerned?
Well, Diane Beach has really extended herself in promoting the wellness program. We now have an individual assisting her 4 hours a week that is preparing a program of delivery for the junior high school as well. That is a goal to start gathering data, and I think this is a wonderful platform to do that. And frankly, we'll enlist Primex support, Harvard Pilgrim, in preparing some of that data. How is that program making a difference?
Maybe that's why our rates are so low.
And I was just
Yes.
gonna
We've
say
had
that-
2 years of
that-
wellness, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
that does speak to the wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to say.
So do you you don't need a motion or anything? I mean,
Well, I think I would like to, because it does require a commitment.
This is a contract that needs to be signed by
Yeah.
Cliff.
It
so
does,
therefore
yes,
we
it
require
does
a
need-
motion to approve.
is anyone willing to offer a motion on that?
I'll offer the motion that we authorize the board chair to enter into the resolution to enter Primex Health 2% extra discount program.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in,
Should we state it basically to the fact it wouldn't not increase beyond 9.8%, that motion?
They're gonna reduce our not to exceed amount from
Yeah.
9.8 to to 7.8.
Okay, yes,
So we get a 2%
Okay.
reduction in the increase,
good, okay,
maximum increase.
all right.
Okay, then with no further comments, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Sue, for
Thank you.
moving that forward. Now, the Williams Communication.
Actually, I should have asked Chris to speak to this. He called me a week or so ago and indicated that the intercom system at the high school had failed completely, and it was not, they just can't repair it. So this is a quote to replace the system that's in the high school.
Now, we just did something similar in the elementary school, didn't we? I know there was some
I don't
discussions
remember.
about it in maybe a budget cycle or two ago.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I don't know that, we didn't completely replace it. We may have done some
We
repairs.
did some-
Yeah.
Right. Well, I know that there are, I guess, before the system entirely failed. So does this mean, Sean, that your voice is not heard
Yeah,
through the
Sean,
building
what does
in the
it mean?
morning?
I think it's fixed for now. What happened was Mr. Andriski would just come on in the morning and it was almost dead silent. It was like a whisper. And the only way that you could have your voice heard was if you, instead of doing an all call, you'd have to individually flick the switches up for each classroom and then talk to all of them at once, which was more time consuming and was not good. But yeah, don't worry, they can still hear me.
Okay.
I'm all set.
Those of you who don't know, I believe Sean does some of
The announcer guy.
the day's lunch menu, and
Yeah.
et cetera. Colorfully, I understand. But the system is, so it's limping.
Right, exactly. I'm just passing around. I did do a quick budget update for June 30th, just so you know where you stand and funds. So you're probably wondering where would we find the money for this?
On the Duquesne system, do we have any sense about what, if any, individual problems exist out in the classroom locations at this point? Whereas certain classrooms may be dead and it doesn't work, I mean, that often can happen.
Yep.
Because what we have as a quote to replace the main,
The main box. Right.
receivers and senders.
Yeah.
However, it's clear in here that if they encounter problems out in the system, that's additional.
Yep.
I would
Correct.
be curious to know whether we know there are problems out there that need to be addressed.
We have to be concerned with emergency procedures in terms of each classroom or something like that.
Well, exactly, I mean, I think at this point, I'd rather have an idea if we've got 35 speakers out there. If we know right now 5 of them don't work, let's include that in what we're doing and fix 5 of
Yep.
them, rather than piecemeal this. I don't know it's gonna cost us to wait 30 days to do this
Yeah.
and have that answer. Rather than come back with change orders, if you
Yeah,
will,
sure.
as
Yeah.
the work progresses.
Well, we have the note here. We'll find out.
With, reflecting on the times I've been in the building, I can envision creative means for controlling the volume of the speakers, cardboard boxes and what have you that are on top. So is that because it's working too well, or the volume control isn't working, or what? It certainly, I think, is worth knowing what we're getting into.
Does he mention the age? No, I don't, and I failed to. How old this system is, I don't recall. I didn't ask him. But,
Yes, I don't know.
No,
Cer-
it's not.
Certainly, it's important from, as you say, from a safety standpoint, to have it operational. But I'd like to know what we're getting ourselves into.
Right.
So, would we need to have them come in and do an evaluation?
I'm not certain it's that extensive. I think the school staff just needs
They'll
to
know.
do an assessment of, hey, wait a minute, we know these 4 rooms don't work.
Yeah.
And then, once we do that, have them come in and tell us what it is to address these 4 rooms. I'm picking a number, of course. I mean, you know whether the speaker works or not right now. If it doesn't work, then we gotta know why and
Yep.
do it all at once.
We'll solve it.
Great. Thank you.
And also, Sue, good news about the purchase of oil today, working in the market, working in our favor, correct?
Well, I ordered oil today, and the price was $2.34, so I filled up both tanks. So that was good news. Continues to go down in price. So
I only wish I could put you in charge of my tank at home.
that was just luck. That was just luck, I think.
I'm not sure about that. Okay, elevator funds.
Did you want any update on the budget?
Oh, yeah,
That's just, did you
please.
want to talk about that at all? I just ran the numbers today with what I know today. The balance, looking through the budget and seeing where that is, the bulk of it is, again, in special ed. We don't have a large number of students out of district right now. Salaries, we did have some savings on salaries and the hiring of new teachers. Of course, the contingencies in there, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty much what I know today.
This
So.
does not include the elevator funds.
No, it does not.
This
No,
doesn't.
this is just your
Okay,
general
that's what
fund
I
budget.
thought. I just wanna make sure of
It
that.
does not include that, no. I think originally when I gave you a projection in October, I included quite a bit more for oil, and I did scale down on that because I feel that, with what we have in the budget, we'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for asking the question about the elevator funds. I would have asked it if you had not. But that gives us a more smooth transition into that discussion, which I know there's been some discussion in the budget committee setting. Do you want to speak to that perspective?
Yeah, I'll just take a moment. Throughout the entire budget process, there have, it has come up several times, the question, since we made the decision not to pursue the elevator for various reasons, what happens to that money? I believe in our minds all along, the intention is that's money that has to go back to the taxpayers, because we're not gonna spend it for an elevator. Said, done deal. The question is and that's what I've been assuring the budget committee is our thinking. The question is, what is the proper method and procedure to have that happen? Because there are things that we do with our trust accounts and things at March that we want to try to continue being clear about. And so we don't want to get those 2 items tangled together if we can avoid it. So I think we've discussed on several occasions addressing the elevator issue in one of our sessions here, so that we're clear with people not only what we intend to do, but then how we intend to go about doing it. So I think that's where we're at now.
Thank you. I guess I want to go back a little bit further and to the fact that this was voted, the community voted that an elevator was desired in the building. There were many warrant articles that failed in that warrant, but this one passed. And I guess with that in mind, I have to think about the intent of the community. And given we had some very strong reasons, very valid reasons why we decided at that point in time to not pursue the elevator. One of them being the loss of classroom space in classrooms that were, if not already undersized from a state standards, very close to it. I don't recall exactly where those particular rooms fell in that, but we would lose a hallway width.
No, they were undersized. Yeah,
They're-
they are
so
undersized.
the location of putting the elevator at the end of the building there would make those rooms that much smaller, which is not good, and also puts it in a place where if we were to consider some sort of addition renovation, it might paint us into a corner, if you will, in that it would limit us in our alternatives in that end of the building. Those pieces certainly haven't changed, but what has is the economy. And I'm just curious if it isn't a question worth asking is, you know, if we had a vendor who is interested in installing a full-size elevator in the original location, which is in the stairwell where the present lift is, for the amount of money that was covered in that warrant article, that is it crazy to think that no one is out there that would do that? I don't know how hungry builders are. I don't know how much margin, you know.
Right.
Certainly steel costs are still up, but transportation costs and, you know, those sort of things have gone down, and, you know, the employment market has changed. So I wonder if there's any reason that we shouldn't consider putting it out to bid again.
I don't remember what Dan, without going back to look at the letters and stuff, I don't remember what Dan Bison's reasoning was for making the suggestion that the elevator really did need to go at the end of the building.
Well, originally, the size of the elevator, it was supposed to be the smaller elevator in that stairwell.
Okay.
So, and then when we found out that that we could not, we had to put a full size for to meet the state requirements. We had to put the full size. That's when we went to the end of the building.
Because it became cost prohibitive.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, it was a cost issue. We couldn't, in order to put a full size in that stairwell, it would have cost more than we budgeted. So then, but we could still fall within the budget, putting it at the end of the building.
But you have to remember, that's what drove the initial discussion. We did not fall within the budget, moving it to the end of the building.
Right.
Because of the
And then,
additional foundation work required because
Right.
of the instability of the
Right.
fill
then when we
soil.
found, yeah,
The
exactly.
compaction test failed.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah.
So,
So the original intention, we had a budget for a not the full-size elevator. Then we found out, unfortunately, after, that the state wouldn't allow us to put that smaller elevator in. So we had to go to the full size, and then, you know, for many reasons, then the budget, then we didn't have the budget for a full-size
and
elevator.
in reality, it wasn't that people didn't do their homework. The state had changed their requirement.
Exactly.
The state had literally changed the requirement
Right.
midstream from the personal elevator being an allowed to now the full-size one being required in state code. So I thank you for the reminder.
So, maybe that's a ridiculous question, but I kind of feel like it needs to be asked.
Well, our intent is to meet with Dan Bison this Tuesday, and that would be an opportunity where
Ask him.
we could ask him and then
Yeah.
walk over with him and observe what
Yeah.
placement might involve.
Well, he's got a fully worked out plan for the former location.
Right.
And I thank you for reminding me what it was. It worked out that it was so much more expensive to put a full-size elevator in the central stairwell that they then went to Plan B to save money. That was well above our warranted
Yeah.
amount.
Right.
Yeah.
But then we ran into other issues when we moved it out to the end, cost included. So he is fully familiar with that location and where it, what the plan was. He wrote it. So, I mean, I think that he might be able to address Cliff's question in terms of has the economy softened the construction market to the point where we might in fact be back in the
Good
ballpark.
question, yeah.
That's a good question to ask him. You know, it's speculation on our part now, but, you know, how many firms are just trying to keep crews busy and keep them employed? It may be a factor. He'll be certainly a good resource in trying to estimate what that impact might be.
And if it's has potential for moving forward on that, I think we should consider it.
Yes.
If it doesn't, then we need to figure out a way to, for lack of a better term, encumber those monies back to the taxpayer,
Yes.
so that it doesn't get rolled into the general budget.
And we need to have those answers with 2 weeks from tonight. Because procedurally, we're gonna be approving our warrant articles and such 2 weeks from tonight, and I think we're gonna have those answers
Well, we do have an opinion
I
from,
do have the DRA's opinion.
No, I understand that, but
You
I
have
mean, we're
that.
gonna have to
Oh,
have
yes,
the
here.
answer about the possibility
Yeah.
of Cliff's question regarding the elevator,
sure.
by then as well. I mean, we can't go into January and then decide, oh, let's,
Yeah.
I don't like going back
You
and
have
forth
that,
on
right?
this, frankly.
I gave you this the other night. This was the opinion from DRA, is that those funds will be part of fund balance.
Okay.
So I'll just read this so that anyone who may be watching has that benefit. Unless the $225,000 can legally be encumbered per RSA 32:7, the funds would lapse into the general fund unreserved fund balance. There isn't any other way to keep those funds from being used to lower the tax rate. Sorry.
Becomes part of fund balance, so, and your articles authorize the use of fund balance to fund your trust funds.
But anything up to a certain point, up
Right,
to a level,
exactly.
certain level.
Right.
Anything after that
Right, but
goes.
if perhaps your fund balance wasn't, say you authorized 3 warrant articles to 50,000 and your fund balance was only 100, 50 of that would have to come from that, right? So that's correct, you could do that if you,
I think the answer almost misunderstands, even though the answer is there, the answer almost misunderstands the question. We're going to have to look at the wording of our warrants for the reserve accounts, and we may have to make some adjustments in those numbers to be certain that we identify a reserve amount up to X that will not go near, you know, eating into that 225.
and that's hard to determine because your
know
fund
that.
balance, you won't know.
I know that,
that's
and
the
so
hard
we may in fact have to forego those reserves this year,
Exactly.
those reserve warrants this year, to ensure that this happens.
I did
I
ask,
think it's important if we do not do this, that we ensure that it happens.
I did ask the question, and I didn't really get a clear answer on, could we include in that warrant, exclusive of elevator fund money? You know, within that warrant, but,
They're
you know,
so
again,
prescriptive
they're
that
so
you
prescriptive,
can't
she
even
said no,
add a
but,
phrase.
The way we maybe, and I'm no expert on the warrants, we'd have to ask Barbara Lowe, but rather than our normal verbiage of 40% up to $50,000, we could not use that verbiage and we could identify specific amounts.
that's correct.
May we reserve X amount of dollars if a fund balance is available for this purpose? So that,
That's the way around it.
then we can use some, you know, some projection, know that we won't go near that amount. Will we end up giving more back to the taxpayer? Absolutely, and that's, what's wrong with that?
Right.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? But in order to protect that cushion, we could look at wording our warrants that way with specific amounts rather
Yeah,
than
that's a
percentages
good
up
idea.
to.
Again, and if
I
these,
think those would pass muster.
right, and if these funds do go back, again, that's an additional revenue that goes back to your tax rate. So that 225,000 becomes another way to lower what your tax rate will be, because that will be your fund balance. I didn't include that in any of my projections on tax rate. So, knowing that, gives you a little cushion if you're still leery about state funding.
Oh,
And then it does give you a little cushion if you're thinking about the warrant for your roof. This will cover it and there won't be an impact. If that's the decision you go with, if you do not use those funds. So,
Well, good. So can you include that language with dollar figures rather than percentages in,
Sure.
in the
With
draft
images.
to?
You could leave
Leave
just
it
take the
blank.
verbiage there and leave them blank.
Mhm.
Leave that dollar amount blank, and then
Right.
we can work on those, and you can identify a 10,000 amount or a 20,000
Mhm.
amount, and specifically, you know, select amounts for
Mhm.
those.
just so you're funding them.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's great that we're in a position where we're talking about
Balances,
balance.
yes.
It is. Because it could be very different. And then our hands would be more tied than they are already. Okay, any last word then on the elevator funds piece? Thank you, seems like it's ongoing almost as long as the piece of land behind the elementary school. Okay, the manifest for December.
Make a motion that we approve the manifest for December in the amount of $358,711.55.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Can I just ask a question on the intercom? What was the decision? Did you take a vote, or did we make a decision, or
We didn't take a vote.
we didn't take a
No, we
vote? So you
wanna-
want more research on?
Anxious to
find
know
out
what
if-
an
If-
anticipated all-in expense would be.
Okay.
Yep.
To fix all the speakers. Okay.
But I think the tenor of the room is that it's an important thing to have
Yeah.
functional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wanted to ask an IT-related question. What, do you know what the situation is with email? I emailed 2 teachers this week, and neither one of them got my email. And they haven't received an email from me at all yet this year. So there's still an issue. And
I've had the same problem.
yeah,
Email teachers.
this is just so not acceptable.
Yeah. I haven't heard, frankly, much about the email system as of recent not being functional. We had a terrible time during the beginning of the year, not only with external communication, but internal communication. Well, I'm glad you brought that to our attention, and you as well, Sean, because frankly, we have not been hearing that.
No, we hadn't heard there were any. I assume everyone's getting mine. You got my email
Mhm.
when I sent
Yes.
you. So,
Not to say that that is not occurring, but we'll inquire and to find out if there is a problem that we can identify. We've certainly been disgusted with the firm, and we did not continue with the contract that was servicing the email system.
Mhm.
And this email, as well as the student information system, frankly, has been under review, and we will have recommendations that are brought forth to this body to discuss changes.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's, as I mentioned, I think in a budget work session that we had a little bit back, we've invested a lot of money in technology, and
You have.
we need to make it really sing. And yeah, it's clearly not in more than one area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The December schedule then, we've talked about the budget dates, which are behind us, I guess, for the remainder of the month. Our next meeting will then be on the 18th. No one has, no. Thank you for bringing that up.
Just because it made me think on the calendar, Saturday evening, I'm gonna say 6:30, but my memory may be faulty. Call the rec department for specific times. The Giving Tree is taking place at the bandstand downtown. If you wish to bring a unwrapped toy, they're doing a toy collection. It's a nice way to kick off the holiday season here in town, and see a lot of people and do some socializing and give something to a good cause. And I know the rec department has more specific information as they sent out the information that we received. So that is this Saturday evening. I believe it's 6:30 at the bandstand.
Thank you. Got the
Penny? Are there any project graduation fundraisers going on this month that you know of? No.
And so I think we adequately outlined the budgets meetings and deadlines into January. Any other items that we need to point out?
No, I believe
Okay.
we've covered it.
Excellent. All right, do we have a need for a non-public this evening?
Not this evening.
Terrific. Okay, then in that case, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.